I'm sure my mother must have given me. Perhaps that's why I have the bad rap of being the rebel. But I do know that she gave it to me, and I do know that she raised me well. Because at the age of accountability, if I went to her with a problem or concern, a childish problem or concern, she would say to me, well, you know the difference between right and wrong. And it was as simple as that, and she was right. That doesn't mean I always did the right thing. But I knew the difference between right and wrong, thanks to my father and mother. It was a privilege to be able to have Mom come and live with Nora and I toward the end of her life. She wasn't with us long. I think she was with us about 8 or 9 months. But Linda, Julian, Vicki, and Brian, all of us agreed that it would be a privilege, and any one of us would have loved to have her in our home. It just worked out that in terms of practical considerations with the insurance, and in terms of geographically where her heart was, that the best thing to do was for her to move in with Nora and I. Nora and I had not been married a long time, but Nora was more than 100% with me in that decision. She and Mom developed a love for each other very early on before we were married. So that's been a real blessing to us and to Mom. When she moved in with us, we lived in Concord, which was a plus because her sister Gwen lived there. And then recently we moved out to Rio Vista, which is a very small community. It's kind of between Fairfield and Antioch, I guess. It's out there on the Delta. And towards the end of her life, we were taking her to dialysis 3 times a week. At that point, usually the way it worked was that Nora would take her to dialysis in the afternoon, and then because I worked very close by the dialysis center, I would pick her up and bring her home. Well, probably couldn't have been more than 2 or 3 weeks before she passed that we were driving home on Highway 12 from dialysis. Mom was in good spirits and feeling good, all things considered. And for those of you who don't know Highway 12, it's a little 2-lane road that connects the town of Rio Vista to, I guess it's Highway 80 at that point. It's about 21 miles from that connecting point out to Rio Vista. And I think there's only 2 places where one side of the road or the other will widen enough, and there will be 2 lanes for a mile or 2 so that you can pass the slower moving traffic. And one day, as I say, probably not more than 3 weeks before Mom passed away, we were driving home, and I was a little impatient with the slow traffic. So I got into the fast lane at the first opportunity and began to pass those slower cars. As I accelerated and accumulated speed, suddenly a large truck pulled out in front of me. And it was sudden enough. My wife will tell you that I'm not shy with the horn capabilities in the car. So I rather heatedly laid into the horn behind this truck. And Mom looked over at me with the last piece of advice that she ever gave me. And as I say, I don't remember too much specific advice. I know that she gave me a lot when I was younger. And she must have given me a lot when I was a teenager, but as I've mentioned, I didn't pay much attention to it. But this is the last piece of advice that Mom ever gave me. And she raised her voice to me and she said, "Control yourself." And that brought me back to my senses a little bit. But on reflection, over the past few weeks, I realize what profound advice that is. Because if you think about that for a minute, that's what we are all here on the earth to do, is to learn to control ourselves. And so I thought to myself, what a wonderful piece of advice. What a wonderful final word from my mother. What a great road sign for me from here on out. And I can still hear her saying that, "Martin, control yourself." And I leave these memories with you in the name of Jesus Christ.